So we got more gas out of the tank, moving it around in different directions. And this is the gas came out, right? Yeah, that's hurting, right? And I took the old thing I can't say on YouTube and put a length of hose on it and then put a bolt on it because obviously this thing leaks. We're going to put this back on the tank now, and that's going to give us a good seal, and then we'll be able to add the kerosene. Bought a couple of jars of kerosene right here, and we're going to put that in the tank. Okay, everything's back on. Now we can lay the tank down flat. We're going to start filling it with kerosene. I particularly hate this bottle because the spout is not on the end, but especially if you're trying to fill kerosene lamps, but whatever. This stuff smells rancid if you happen to be filling stuff up inside your house. We're in the shed, so it don't really matter. Got it all closed up now, so you know, a couple times a day, just a little bit of agitation. That's all that's required, and because we're not going to have the parts back for the carb till Friday to even do the rebuild, and then, you know, subsequently when it goes in, just have at least a couple days to soak. So we're back at the bike and we're about to get underway with the Carburetor Reinstallation, but before I do, strange as it may seem, we're still on the carb rebuild technically, as I am going to have to do the cleaning of these needles for the enrichner on each side. So let me get a close-up before right here, and then I'll clean them and I'll come back for an after. See, now it's shined up, I got all the grime off. I'm going to be doing the same thing to the other side as well. I'm going to be pre-packing these carbs with paper towels before I put them in the bike. The bike is not the cleanest. Once it's all assembled, give it a nice wash down, but just to make sure nothing gets in here, I'm just going to fill this up. Better safe than sorry. And there we go, that's all ready. And I still have to be careful. This isn't hermetically sealed. This is just to stop something from dropping in there. That and ensuring that there's no dirt around here. I'll be pulling these out, the ones I previously inserted in this area, to stop any contamination from getting in this. I'm then going to be applying Remoil to the rubber on the insides liberally, and also to the carburetor. The carb is going to be inserted the same way it was uninserted. It's going to be walked in that way first, and then it needs to be rotated like that, and then the rest of the way, once it's rotated, goes in like that. That's it, no tricks. Boom, it's in. And it's supposed to just float here, right? And that's all we're looking for, is just floating in the frame. Make sure everything's out of the way, which it already should be, and then we will put it into the lower manifolds. And from my experience, that it's easier to do one at a time, and you could grab the carb from the top and work it in. Maybe Jason will hold the camera in this area here where the manifold is, and maybe we could see me get this in there. You ready? Oh, that just, look at that, popped right in. And then around this side, I don't have a very good view of this one. It was actually easier to start from this side because there's less room to work. Get that in and then come around and push this side in. So in the end, it went in very nicely. After I figured that out, should be just a little bit of wiggle, but it's in. The manifold on this side, there's a key here that ensures that this is in the correct position. I'm gonna take the slack out first. Is what I'm doing. Just check that key, make sure that's in there, and it is. It's fine. Just double check. I don't want it to jump. And there should be a stopper in between there. I don't want to go too tight, so let me know. There we go. That's good. I'll be tightening the one on this side, same procedure. Make sure that the key is in place there as it is. Watching that it stays in positions, I take up the slack, and it's not going anywhere. Snug it down, don't tear it apart. I'm using one hand here. Very good. Since I'm already on this side, is I want to get the enrichner valve, which I just cleaned previously, back into the carburetor to close up that whole chance for contamination, so that's a priority. What I'm going to do is push it back in, just tighten the screw by hand, and that's it. Maybe just give it a little tighten with a pair of needle nose pliers. I'm going to try and do this through the camera here. It is plastic though, so it's important not to cross thread this. You have to be very careful. Once you get the first couple turns, you can see, never using a tool. Never ever using a tool. Right, there's enough slack with everything disconnected. You can see I can pull back on the cable some here, and I got room to work. I'm going to tighten this by hand all the way to full seat, like that. I'm going to grab a pair of needle nose pliers and just give this just a little twist, like this. And that's it. That's it. And then I will take the plastic shield, I snap it back over, and this is done. I'll come back to this later when I do linkages. I'm going to go do the same thing on the other side. This side is much easier to see and work with, right? I should have done a video example for this one. I'm just going to put it right back in. It'll find its way. Gonna pull back on the plastic a little bit. I know it's hard to see. Don't cross thread. Only use our fingers. Feel the choke. I mean, you can't see it like on a Yamaha, but it feels okay. Well, no one is running, right? There's no visibility. But there you go. There's the choke. So we're setting up the purge here. I have my tank. This is the fill-up tank here that I use for motorcycle work. And on the other side here, these are the two lines that go to the carburetors. And you can see I've already installed a drill bit on one side. We're going to just only have to purge it once because these lines are so close to each other. It'll work its way out. And this is going to be the return. We're going to put this in another gas can. We're getting that set up now. Turn the key. Now I'm going to flip the ignition switch. It's not what I expected. I actually have to use a starter to do this, but it's pumping out the old gas. Yellow and nasty. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to refill this tank a bit, but it is pumping out all the, and that, wow, does that smell, huh? That is nasty. So we are getting the old gas out of the system. We're going to do this a couple more times. Yes, so that'll work. Let that sit for a minute, let it dissolve whatever's in the system, and then we'll do this again. I'm going to shut off the bike. We're going to blast this piece out. We set up a nice makeshift filter for this, so we're just going to clean this now. Here you go. These pieces look like new now. Hose looks a little old, but in the inside it's been cleaned and blasted through. There's no more dirt or debris in here. And Jason has fabricated a filter from some foam he got at Lowe's today. Jason's project, look at that. And this filter is actually thicker than the dimensions from the one from Honda, which recommends what, every 12,000 miles? And by the fact that the other one disintegrated like dust when we looked at it with an evil eye, I'm thinking it had never been changed. So we're going to pop this one in, and we're going to close this one up and call it a day with this little piece here. It kind of sits in like that. So if you own one of these motorcycles and you're like, hey, I never heard of that filter before, yeah, you may want to open up the bike and, you know, swap this one out, especially if it's like, you know, like 20 years old and say, there's a filter? Yeah, you got to change them or else it eats your carb. Goes over and it snaps together if you have like two hands to do it. Hey, you could have the honors. And there it is. That's the filter right there that goes on this unit. And now we're going to assemble it back into the bike. Do a final purging now that we've let the new fuel settle in the system. Make sure it comes out clear from here and we don't smell any nastiness. If that's good, then we're gonna call it. I'm gonna turn on the bike now. And let's get started. Yeah, it looks okay to me. We're good. Yeah, we're good. We got it all out. And with that comes the installation of the fuel lines back on the carburetor. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the easy one in first, and that is the lower, with confidence, because now the lines have been cleaned, and this will go on there ultimately when I'm ready. I've got the second one on this side. I'm not entirely happy with the bend here, and I'm going to see if these could be tied off in a manner that will alleviate that bend some. So I'm going to lock down the clips first and then see what I can do. And there we go. Now I have this side connected. Both clamps are on. The fuel lines are now in. Now I have this line here on the center, and everything seems clear in this line. I'm going to go and plug this in, and this goes right here. There we go. Now that line is done. Plan, this is going to wrap on the carburetor like that. The two plastic pieces that I put the O-rings on before, it's just going to lock in just like that, nothing more. And there we go. We got that piece back in as it came out, and such is the original design. I don't think anybody won any awards in Japan for this, but yeah, it came through this pipe through here. Now we have the filter in, wraps around, got this hose here that bends around this piece of the frame, comes back down into this carb. So that's it. Least favorite part of carburetor installation is the cable linkages. So I've snapped in the first one, I'll snap in the second one. Sometimes I do them backwards and I redo them. But this is me snapping in the parts. The bracket, as was previously mentioned, is done last because it causes problems when trying to install all of this. We can see now that both of them are now back in the carburetor. And this is actually a pretty convenient setup because now the bracket could just be put around both of them and tightened down. This also includes the enrichner on this side, which is also part of that bracket. These were about as much fun to put on as they were to take off. This is not, to me, the best design, not after working on Yamaha. So there's the first one done. I'm going to tie down the second one. And there's the bracket reinstalled. That's it for that. And finally, when that's all done, the enrichner snaps onto the top portion, don't forget, right there. Next we have this upper manifold here, which I think we loosened this screw by mistake last time, or we loosened it and didn't need it.
Yeah, correct.
Just to make sure that one's tightened before we reassemble. So we'll do that first, make sure that's tightened, and then we'll put this in. Advisable to remove this paper towels before we continue with the upper manifold, which is the next thing we're going to install. Kind of gonna sit just like that as we took it off. We're gonna seat it properly, and then we're gonna screw everything down. Also put a little Remoil on here to make this easier to put on without bending the rubber. Tightening these two, get these in a position, and then I'll get the third one on. They're just gonna keep falling off as we try and tighten them, so. There we go, and I'll just straighten out that one now. I think that one's on now. Should be up front, right here. Finally, our last piece before testing will be this tank right here. We're just gonna drop this in right quick. Side will connect down here. This hose right here will connect to top side. All the hoses are reconnected, and now we just put the nut back in. We should finish it. What size is that? 10 millimeter. At this point, we have an entirely closed system, and all the spark plug wires are in. Everything's in. We're gonna throw a little bit of gasoline in here. We're gonna fill up the carbs. We're gonna see what we got. So I imagine we're gonna have to prime this. So here we go. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna choke it. It'll take a while to get gas up in there. Point out that there is no exhaust completed for this bike yet. It's still a work in progress. Running on its